Welcome back, one and all, to the AOR Pro Mazda Championship. We're in Italy at the Temple of Speed for the opening round of this third season. My name is Justin, and joining me for the first time, it's xMattyG.
Hello everyone, an unfamiliar scene for me. It's the AOR Pro Mazda Championship, but at least they've got four wheels, which is pretty similar to F1. I'm looking forward to a sort of new challenge in commentating, because I don't really know too much about iRacing.
Yep, should be a fun season. Really looking forward to it. This is the second time the league will be racing here at Monza, a legendary Formula One circuit known for its long straights. Last season, it was Justin Brunner who took his maiden victory at this track, what was the first of many victories which paved the way to his Drivers' Championship title over Kerry Nolden. Kerry Nolden fighting back last season from last place to get on the bottom step of the podium. But enough about last season. Let's get this season kicked off, starting with the qualifying comparison.
Here we are for the first qualifying comparison lap from Season 3 of the AOR Pro Mazda Championship at Autodromo Nazionale Monza, on board with Govan Keeney on the left hand side and Johnny Takinen, one of several debutants for this race, on the right hand side. Turning into turn 1 and 2 now, the first chicane of the lap, the slowest corner as well on the whole circuit. And as you can see, we have somehow managed to install cameras on the eyelid of the helmets of these guys, so you can see the laps exactly from the view that these guys see when they are driving. So coming now around the long right hand turn of Curva de Grande, they're shifting all the way up to 6th gear, the highest gear for these cars, up to nearly 240 kilometers an hour before breaking down to 2nd gear again for the second chicane of the lap, trying to be aggressive but also controlled on the curbs. And then coming towards two of the most fascinating corners on the track, the two Lesmos. The first one a quite long right-hander where it's easy to understeer, using absolutely all the curb and the AstroTurf on the exit, and then precisely flicking the car into the second Lesmo, and again using all of that AstroTurf to maximize the speed onto this long back straight down the hill and then back up the hill towards Ascari, reaching 6th gear and again nearly 240 kilometers an hour before braking hard down to 3rd gear again for this quite tricky triple apex corner, where it's hard to keep this car stable, and you also got to be wary of the big sausage curbs on the inside of the apexes. And here, using all of the track on the exit, the game lets you do that, and then back up the gears again all the way to 6th, heading towards the final corner of the track, the absolutely amazing Parabolica, where you've got to try to brake as late as you can get away with before leaning the car into the corner as close to the apex as possible. Quite interesting that Keeney takes a very tight line here in the exit while Takinen hangs it out on the outside. Maybe that is a deciding factor in Keeney taking pole position by approximately 3/10 of a Takinen, who gets 2nd on his qualifying debut.
So it is Govan Keeney that takes pole position for the opening round of Season 3. He is followed by Joni Takinen in 2nd position and Patrick White in 3rd position. Season 2 champion Justin Brunner is down in 4th position, and he's followed by Season 1 champion Kerry Nolden. Behind him comes Christian Tilozuk. Behind him is Michael Mittner in the 7th place position, Hugo Prado in 8th position, Timu Valkijärvi in 9th, and Bruno Dometer rounds out the top 10. In 11th position, we've got Jean-Francois Godin. He is followed by the 2nd Team AOR blue car of Phil Reed, who starts from way down in 12th position, quite a ways back from his teammate. Harley Lewis for Carbon Racing, now driving for Carbon Racing this season. He starts down in 13th. Not a great start to his career here at Carbon Racing. Judas Puhaka is in 14th for Glacier. He's followed by Daniel Baxter, who moved to ACR. In 16th position is Marco Bendow. He's followed by league veteran Lee N. Robinson. And in 18th position, we've got Martinson for Team AOR Red, the only Team AOR Red car in the race here today. In 19th position, we've got Mark Hoppin. And in 20th, we've got Alexander Van Rompuy, who is also joining ACR alongside Daniel Baxter. And bringing up the rear of the grid, we've got Steven Bendow, Evan Imre, Renee Osterkamp, Robert Plumley, Chris Robinson, Vittorio Saltalamacchia, William Bush, and not setting times during the qualifying session, we've got Steve Kagerer, Cedric Finsack, and Alex Sadler. Here we are on the grid for the opening race of the third season with the AOR Pro Mazda Championship. There is Season 2 champion Justin Brunner. He's starting today's race from 4th position. There is our Season 1 champion, Kerry Nolden, sitting in 5th position. That's Joni Takanen. He is on the front row in 2nd position, but there is your pole man, Govan Keeney, starting off his season in the best possible way from the front row of the grid. Here at Monza, obviously a long drag down to the first corner. Everybody's going to have to be very careful as we've got the red lights on now, waiting for them to turn green. And there they are, green, green, green. The cars are away. Govan Keeney from that pole position with Joni Takanen filing in just behind him. He's followed by Patrick White, and it looks like there's some jostling behind. That looks like Kerry Nolden and Michael Mintner going side by side into the corner. And we've got battling up and down the field, all of the cars going side by side through this first chicane. Govan Keeney holds on to his lead. Joni Takanen hangs on to that 3rd place position, and Patrick White hangs, or 2nd place position, and Patrick White hangs on to that 3rd place position, but he's coming under attack now. I'm not sure which car that was, but it's a very clean start here, Matty. We had some issues last season with the start at here at Monza with turn 1, but so far things look pretty clean.
I was going to say that first chicane is a very tight chicane, especially when you've got almost over 20 drivers steaming towards those corners. So the fact that there was no collisions, or from what we've seen anyway, that's pretty impressive. So are we on board with Kerry right now? If I'm no, we're not. No, are we? Are we on board with Kerry right now? We are. Wow, gosh, look at me go. So we're coming through the 2nd Lesmo now, and someone's got out of shape there. I'm not sure who that is, but they've definitely lost maybe 4 positions there. And, oh, it's Brunner, actually. So Brunner's run wide and lost 4 positions, currently down to 8th now. And last season's champion is not off to a great start.
No, not at all. That is not how he wants to start things. Of course, it's a pretty long race here. We've got 24 laps. Everybody's going to have to pit at least once. And as we see there, currently in 4th position is Christian Thilozuk, and he's up from his 6th place starting position, so he's gained a couple of positions. And Govan Keeney's actually lost the lead to Takanen, and he is trying to get that back right now. He's in the slipstream as they head into the Parabolica to finish lap 1. And it's already quite a significant gap, actually, between the top 2 and the rest of the field. These two guys might have the opportunity to break away as we get some wonderful helicopter shots here of the top 2 once again. And as mentioned, Govan Keeney is behind, but he is going to have that slipstream. He's got the inside line now as well for turn 1. We can see Kerry Nolden in the background as well. He's down a little bit, and he's slipping into that slipstream as well, and trying to maybe overtake a couple of cars. Govan Keeney back into the lead of this race. A very straightforward maneuver for him heading into turn 1. Really no problems for him there. We've got some more side-by-side action. It looks like we may have had a spin in the background there, a little bit further back. No, it looks like everybody is moving along just fine. So no major problems anyway as it stands. And we're starting lap 2 here as we're heading into the 2nd chicane of this lap, having to look backwards at our Season 1 champion, Kerry Nolden, who did finish 2nd place in the last season, but unfortunately luck just was not on his side, and Justin Brunner was able to take that championship. But Nolden, with several wins last season, proving he hasn't lost any of his speed. I'm really looking forward to seeing the head-to-head battles between Nolden and Brunner this season.
Yeah, so Thilozuk just went up into 3rd position there, as almost getting into the gravel there, as they're going side by side into the 2nd Lesmo. And are they going to come out side by side? I don't think so, no. So into the gravel slightly, losing a bit of acceleration there as we now rejoin the leaders with Takanen and Keeney. And you can just tell by the track layout, it being Monza, that we're probably going to see a lot of this, just the slipstream effects, the following through. And if they can just withstand the dirty air, then by the end of the straights, they're just going to go past. So here's Takanen in the slipstream now of Keeney. You'd expect to possibly for him to get near to Keeney into the finals corner. Here we go. Is he going to have a look up the inside? It'd probably be best not to, as he's got another long straight to go, and he can just sit back in the slipstream and possibly get back in front coming to the turn 1.
Yeah, and these two are just kind of, they're battling each other, but really not in the way that the cars behind are battling each other, which is why I'm really starting to think that these guys are starting to pull a gap to the rest of the cars. We've got Govan Keeney defending the inside line, heading into turn 1. They still got a little bit to go before they hit their braking, though, and I think Takanen is going to take that position. He does, pretty straightforward. So these guys just kind of leapfrogging each other back and forth, and just sharing that slipstream among each other, and that really seems to be helping quite a bit. It's a bit strange, I have to admit, seeing Kerry Nolden without the number 1 on his car, seeing him as the number 35, but there is Nolden holding off a couple of people and dropping back a little bit. This is Patrick White and Christian currently in battle as they come around the Curva Grande and heading into the second chicane. We can see them still there going side by side. Patrick White with the outside line, though I don't think he's going to be able to hold off, and he does not. And he is going to lose that position to Christian, and as they head into the Lesmos now. And you can see everybody kind of filing in now. It's a little bit of a train, a slipstream train that we're seeing here now, as people are starting to filter into their places. And hopefully soon here we'll start to see people battling each other once again. Certainly Christian, I would imagine, is going to be one of the most susceptible to being overtaken, as he's not getting the slipstream from the cars ahead, almost certainly. So I imagine he is going to be under lots of pressure here as we're going into Ascari now. These cars don't have loads of power. They do have a good amount of downforce, though, so they're able to carry quite a bit of speed through there, using all of the track and then some. And that is a big incident from Michael Mittner into 2 barriers. He looks like he just dipped a wheel into the gravel at the exit of Ascari, and that's certainly going to be pretty damaging for his race. In fact, his race might be over.
That is a pretty huge impact, and he's pretty lucky not to take him on with him as he came back across the track. As who is this that we're on board with this? Is this the 2 leaders?
Yep.
I believe it is. It's Keeney going straight back past again. So these two, yeah, as you said, Justin, it does look like they're using the slipstream effect to their advantage and pulling away from the rest of the field, because that is a huge gap between second and third to try and catch up around a track that, you know, really doesn't really, you know, this is mainly down to straight line acceleration, especially as these guys are battling third and fourth into the first 2 corners. And if they're going to continue to make slight contact or crashing into walls, that's going to cost them a lot of time. And I think just battling like this, rather than using the slipstream effect, really does have an impact on their eventual lap time. As we now have a look at the start, and amazingly, none of them actually crashing or making much contact at all, Justin.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's plenty of people that could learn a lesson or 3 from watching this start. It was quite a good one, as you said. Really no incidents. We could see everybody just the accordion effect that you get as one of the cars there going around the outside. Oh, and there was a little bit of contact there. It looks like somebody maybe went a little deep. I'm not sure who that was. We're on board with Michael Mittner, though, right now, who started just behind Kerry Nolden, and they did a little bit of battling later on. And you can see he's got the inside line. Kerry Nolden definitely, he knows he's there. Nolden knows he's there. Mittner breaks quite a bit later, but Nolden goes around the outside. Very impressive move. He's going to have the inside line for the second part of that chicane. He just doesn't have the exit speed, and Mittner is able to take that position. And this is who I saw went very deep. This was Mark Hoppen. He went around the outside. You can see here, it looked like he was going to gain a number of positions, but then he makes contact with Baxter there, and he wants to avoid overtaking him, I believe, in order to prevent himself from getting a penalty. So it looked like he did kind of lift off and allow Baxter to hang on to that position. Oh, and that is a big incident there for car number 69. And he takes one of the ACR cars off with him. That's very unfortunate. Mark Bendo as well, having a little spin at the entrance to Ascari. We're going to see a replay of that now. And oh yeah, oh no, that's a separate incident. We've got 2 cars stationary at the entrance to Ascari there. Thankfully, no other cars taken off, though. They did sit there stationary and waited for everyone to go through. But here we have Nolden, who is pressuring Patrick White heavily. This is not an overtaking location we have seen a whole lot of just yet. We're only on lap 4, and it does look like Kerry thinks better of it and decides not to go for the inside line through Ascari there, and that was the right choice as Patrick White goes right off the circuit. That is going to drop him down a number of places here, and he just about avoids a bunch of cars as he rejoins the track. I wouldn't say that was unsafe or anything, though, and Kerry Nolden gains a couple of positions, already up into 3rd after starting 5th and then having some troubles. He's back up into 3rd, but he's got quite a lot of work ahead of him, because once again, look at the gap between 2nd and Kerry Nolden. It's going to be very difficult for him, especially with these 2 guys not really battling side by side through corners.
Yeah, these guys are getting an advantage over Kerry purely because they're just using the slipstream effect to their advantage, whereas Kerry's now got to fend off a good 7 cars or something that is behind him, and at the same time try and pump in some really fast laps. Because just look at the gap, as you can see. Look how many cars are going down towards turn 1 and 2. Kerry on the inside line. Oh, was that a little bit of lag? I'm not sure, but Kerry, did he make contact? I'm not even sure, but it looks like he's definitely lost out, as he's down into 5th, as there is a bit of lag actually. So the car wasn't on its side, as far as I'm aware. So the car I'm not sure who that was that had the lag incident, but it seems like they're okay. And Kerry, who was in 3rd position, as we were saying, is now down into 6th, and now coming under pressure from his teammates, as they're going to go almost side by side through the chicane. And almost another bit of contact on his right rear wheel there, as there's 6 cars going into Lesmo 1, and that is going to be slightly a little bit too close for comfort, but they're following quite well, to be fair, despite the dirty air effect. And it's some great racing here. We're only on lap 5.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. And but as you were saying there, Kerry Nolden nearly losing out to his teammate Phil Reed. Phil Reed getting very racy there, as we're going to see a replay here of what exactly happened at that first chicane. It looks like there was not too much going on there. Yeah, just a slight contact. Oh, but he might have some mechanical damage to his front right there, actually, as we got a great shot of the front right wheel. And wow, and the Glacier car just goes flying by pretty easily. And as well, I believe that's Bruno Dometer taking a position as well, or actually that may have been someone else. But this is the incident once again on lap 5 that we saw earlier. And then just a little bit of contact. Oh no, and both Carbon Racing cars actually are going to be heavily affected by that one. Patrick White and Harley Lewis. Harley Lewis driving for Carbon Racing this season. Both of them involved in that incident. And here we're going to see a replay of that. Just a little bit of contact with the rear wing, and that's really all it takes, as he goes spinning around and once again making contact with the second Carbon Racing car as well. So certainly not a great start to lap 5 for the Carbon Racing boys. And yep, that's definitely not going to work out well. And he's just going to go spinning off into the gravel. On board with one of the AOR red drivers now, trying to take avoiding action in the opening chicane, losing out to Mark Hoppen there in that lime green livery. Very easy to spot him. But once again, we are on board with the leaders, and that gap seems to be just extending. Prado is out of the race. Hugo Prado is completely out of the race, so that's very unfortunate for him, as the leaders now, as I mentioned, starting lap 6 now, and once again just slipstreaming each other back and forth. And look at that, just every time they overtake each other, they're never actually side by side through the corners.
Yeah, it's almost as if they've had communication and not even on the same team, but they understand that they want first and second. It says very tight into turns 1 and 2 again there. Is that Justin Brunner, as far as I'm aware? It does look like it. So he's making his way back through the field after dropping down to 8th place at the start of the race, and he is now looking up to 3rd, I believe, there, if he gets past the next car in front of him. Is that his teammate? Not sure. But it's really hard to see all these cars, honestly. Brunner's up to 3rd already, and his teammate Christian's in 4th. There you go. It's good to have people in your ear. But it's some very close racing, and I really can't see 1st and 2nd getting. As you say, they're not fighting at all. And it's going to be interesting to see if Keeney or Takkanen go for an early pit stop to try and break out of that slipstream effect. There's a lot of cars running wide into the gravel there, and fortunately enough being quite forgiving is the gravel by the looks of things. Oh, as I say that, is that Kerry or is that Kerry's teammate? I can't quite tell.
That was Kerry.
It was Kerry, so he's now...
Oh, no, I'm sorry, that was Phil Reed.
That was Phil. Come on, Justin! The Phil Reed's run wide and lost the position. Kerry, fortunately for him, did not run too wide into the gravel to cause... It seems like you can run a little bit wide into the gravel round Monza at least, but not too much, otherwise you're kind of flirting with the devil slightly there. As we're coming down the long back straight now, and it seems like that's Phil Reed looking to try and get the position back. Oh no, that isn't. That's Kerry Nolden. Gosh, it's so hard to keep up, as Kerry's going to look possibly into the last corner, and he's got the inside line actually. And he's lost the car there onto the grass. Fortunately enough, not in the wall, possibly, or maybe he has. Is he going to dive straight into the pits?
Yeah, he's got front right damage. He's got front right damage
there, so he must have made contact with the wall, and Kerry's diving into the pits now. And it's so easy to lose the car here and get just damage just from the slightest of touches.
Yep, and Kerry might actually benefit from this, I'm not going to lie right now, because he did it, that happened right at the pit entrance, and you do have to make a pit stop anyway, and I'm pretty sure a full tank of fuel will run the 18-lap distance that he still has to go in this race. So I don't think it's going to be too detrimental here, as we do see a replay. Kerry saw a gap at the inside line of Parabolica, but then ran just a little bit wide. I'm not sure if there's going to be any sort of penalties awarded for that contact between them. But again, just as I mentioned before, it did happen right at the pit entrance, so Kerry shouldn't be too heavily affected, and he may actually benefit from being in the clean air. As we've been mentioning, though, slipstream is very, very strong here, as we get a very nice replay of that's nearly half spin that Phil Reed had at the second Lesmo as he was coming on to the very long straight down towards Ascari. Here it is again, just I'm sorry, we're picking back up on lap 7. But yeah, very nice replay shots there, actually. Really enjoyed that one. But we've got a little battle here. That is Christian ahead of Eunice, and he is going to hold on to that position for right now as they head into Ascari. It seems like nobody's actually willing to attempt the overtake into Ascari. We've seen a number of cars pull alongside and try to say, you know, hey, I'm taking this inside line for Ascari, but nobody has actually followed through on that promise so far. But right now, Christian is running ahead of his, running behind his teammate. He's got the Glacier car just behind him as well, and the number 42 of Eunice. But as we mentioned, all of this battling between these cars, this final podium position this battle is for, is only helping the front two, as you can barely see them anymore. And we've got one of the cars into the pits right now, and that is Timu Valkijärvi, who is a privateer. He is running a he is running sort of a Glacier livery, but he is a privateer. He's not part of a team. He's not scoring points for any teams. And surely Timu is thinking, oh no, and that's a big contact there. That's several pieces of contact. And I believe Phil Reed is going to be heavily affected by that one as well. You can see he's got rear wing damage, heavy rear wing damage to the back of Phil Reed's car there. He's got front end damage as well to the front wing. And that is just, oh, and he's made contact with the barrier as well. And Bruno Dometer moving up into 5th position in that classic Ferrari livery. I'm sure he's going to say, thank you very much, lads. I will take that 5th position.
Yeah, it's action galore now. Everybody crashing into each other. You would have expected that on the first lap, not now, as there's a lot of smoke coming out of Lewis's rear end. Is that some sort of engine problem? Or
I believe he's blown an engine. That's certainly not a good sign. I'm not sure he's going to be able to repair that. That might be the end of his race, which is very unfortunate for Harley Lewis, who has been racing in this series ever since the very start of Season 1. Harley Lewis is a veteran of the league at this point, and Dometer, it looks like, is coming under attack now from the 99 car. And as I was saying last lap, I believe it was, nobody's actually made that overtake at the inside line of Ascari, but he moves right on through, and Dometer loses one of those positions, drops down into 6th. But of course, he's going to have that slipstream now as they head down towards the Parabolica.
They are indeed. Here is the... Oh, we've now just cut away back to Harley Lewis with the engine blowout, which I think is going to be the end of his race, as that's going to be some serious repairs. Is he even going to get back to the pit lane? It looks like he's just kind of very slowly going down the straight, as we now have a replay, and this is where he just lost the engine by the looks of things. Going into the second chicane, he must have just lost all power. And is that due to downshifting too quickly?
Yes.
Is that how you get... Yeah, okay.
Typically, yes.
Okay, so you can't get like random engine failures and things like that as far as you're
aware. Yeah, usually it means they were way too aggressive on the downshifts, which is it's fairly common in iRacing, not just with the Star Mazda. It does happen in other cars as well. But here's Patrick White on Daniel Baxter. This is a battle for 7th position here at the start of lap 9. Daniel Baxter, I do believe, is new to ACR. I don't remember who he was driving for last season. I want to say it was the British-Canadian racing team, if I'm not mistaken, but Daniel Baxter currently driving for ACR as it stands right now. Yep, he sure was part of the British-Canadian racing team this year, though, driving for the ACR Avid Chronic Racing. Oh, and it looks like Dometer once again going to get extremely lucky and get another free position as Jean-Francois makes contact with the barrier at the exit of the second chicane. And that's very surprising. Once again, Dometer here gaining a number of positions and really having quite a comfortable race purely because of mistakes from others. Yeah,
it seems like it really is not just about pure pace, but just keeping it on the track, keeping it consistent, and not making mistakes that will necessarily just break your car, because you just saw with Kerry the slightest touch on the wall and he's now had to get a lot of repairs, and he was down in 21st. So unfortunately, Justin, your theory of whether or not Kerry it would actually benefit Kerry, unfortunately had too much damage to actually be able to benefit from the early pit stop. So he is now very much out of the running for any sort of top positions, as we're now coming down the straight now with the two leaders still, I think it is, as it looks like it might get a little bit close here. This time it didn't swap positions as far as I'm aware. Is that or did I just completely miss that?
No, they did not.
No, okay, as Justin Brunner's coming into the pits for an earlier pit stop than the two front runners. So Justin very much getting himself back into the running after that incident on the first few laps, as we're now back coming towards turn 1 now. With I'm not sure who this is. Do you know who this is?
I believe this is Baxter. Yep, it sure is. It sure is
Daniel Baxter. Do we know what position he's running in?
Actually, I'm not sure where he's running at the moment, but it looks like he might be improving on that position very shortly here. Is that one of the Carbon Racing cars? I think it might be. Yep, it sure is. That is Patrick White. losing that position to Daniel Baxter as they head down towards the second chicane now. And I'm not sure if he has a problem or if he just had a problem at the first chicane there. Oh yeah, it does look like White got a slowdown warning for cutting turn 1. And here's an incident on lap 8. That was between Christian and oh yeah, that's the incident that we saw, which really hurt Phil Reed. And of course he is Kerry Nolden's teammate. So not a great start to the season for the AOR Blue Team or the Season 1 champion. Phil Reed struggling, as we mentioned. And here's a replay from his shot. Really not much he could do there. I mean, yeah, he very little time to react to that. Not a whole lot he could do, and some pretty significant damage. As we can see, he's trying to navigate through Curva Grande here. That's him losing the position to Dometer, and that's where he made the contact with the barrier. And yeah, you can hear him letting off quite a bit at that point. He knows he's got some pretty significant damage at this point. Here we have the battle for the bottom half of the top 10. Martinson currently in that 10th place position, hopping right behind him, once again in that very easy to spot lime green livery. I'm always a fan of the drivers that produce liveries that are easy to identify, so Hoppin will probably be one of those drivers that I'm able to remember throughout the season. But Jean-Francois Godin, once again, having a look at Dometer, he gifted that position to Dometer not that long ago, but he's coming back at him now as we're getting towards the second half of this race, and it does look like actually Dometer is going to lose out on that position. Certainly he's got to be thinking that it's only a matter of time before this guy makes another mistake, though. So I'm sure Dometer will continue as he has been doing and try to score a nice top 10 finish here. So here is Thibaut Valkyarvi actually making a move on Justin Brunner. Both of these guys pitting on the earlier side of things. Once again, Valkyarvi in independent, Justin Brunner driving for Vortex Sim Racing this season. Valkyarvi's got the inside line as they head into turn 1. And I imagine, oh no, and Justin Brunner fighting back around the outside. Very respectful driving. Nice, clean overtake attempts here. And it does look like he's going to have the better exit speed as they're going side by side into the Curva Grande. Very close racing between these two guys. Brunner is on the outside right now, of course, but he's going to have the inside line if he can just keep up that top speed. And if he can brake late enough as well, that's really going to be the key. Who's ahead? And it does look like Timu is a little bit ahead, so Brunner's got to give him room. Timu gives him room at the exit, and once again, very clean, fair racing from both of these drivers. Lots of room given to each other, and Brunner hangs on to that position for now.
Brilliant racing from those two, and this is definitely going to be helping Puhaka, who are racing for the final podium position at the moment. And these two early stopping, obviously they were thinking in their minds that they wouldn't be doing too much battling, but now Puhaka might be the one actually in the clean air, as the front two are still very much using the slipstream to their advantage, not really battling still. I don't think he'll be going up the inside. Nope, see, just following in the footsteps at the moment of Keeney, and these two very much don't really need to pit because they're using each other so much that I think if they pitted early they'd almost lose time possibly. But it seems like these two, again, very much unassailable right now, but we won't really know how much time they've actually gained until these two pit. And it's going to be interesting to see when we come to towards the end of the race, when they actually will start battling for first position, whether or not there will be any contact, which may bring other people into contention.
Yeah, I think Takinen might actually be lifting at this point. It's a little suspicious to me, actually, how they're not trading positions anymore. Is Keeney going a little bit wide there? Thankfully, he had the car all straightened up pretty much by the time he was in the gravel. And once again, in the gravel, you can see using all of the circuit and then some. Of course, there is a 22 incident limit, as we can see one of the AOR cars going very wide back there and off of the circuit. I think they might actually be a lap behind. But the battle between Jean-Francois and Dometer continues. Dometer with the inside line, and he is not giving up. He does not want to give up on that position, and it does look like he was able to grab that position. And Jean-Francois coming right back at him as they head into the second chicane. He's got the inside line, and these two just trading positions as they've got the ACR car of Daniel Baxter, I believe, just behind them. And here's a replay of the incident on lap 4 between Vinsec and Van Rompuy. Oh, and that is very unfortunate for Van Rompuy, his first season with ACR in this Season 3. And this is the onboard from Vinsec's point of view, and yet just the slightest of touch between his front right and the rear left of Alexander Van Rompuy, and that just sends him flipping end over end. You can see the camera can't even keep up with what's going on there, and that is very unfortunate. That's going to surely drop him out of the top points paying positions. I'm sure he's going to be gutted about that for his first race with ACR, as we've got Patrick White into the pits now, and we are past the halfway point of this race now. So certainly the pit window is firmly open at this point. Really, with this series, the pit window opens from about 25% race distance or so. Please excuse the blinking, everyone. Once again, here is that battle between Justin Brunner and Teemu Valkjärvi. Teemu really hanging on to the back of Brunner, our Season 2 champion. Really surprised, I got to be honest, I'm really surprised to see neither one of our champions in that battle at the top. Obviously, equal cars, not equal setups. It's very possible that our front runners have found a setup which works really well at this circuit and allows them to really pull out that gap in the clean air. As we've shown before, they're really pulling out, as we're going to get a replay now of the incident on lap 3 that happened to Michael Mittner. And as you were saying, Maddie, very, very lucky not to collect another car there. That is Teemu Valkjärvi, actually, whose race nearly ended on lap 3. That is incredibly close between those two drivers. And I'm sure Teemu Valkjärvi is thanking his lucky stars just to be in this race still.
I was going to say, when I saw the car come across the track, I was wondering how no one got collected, and that was about as close as you possibly could get to being absolutely wiped out, because Teemu definitely would have been out of the race had he clipped his right rear tyre, or left rear tyre, sorry. But looks like we are now back with, who is that?
This is the leaders.
These are the leaders. Okay, yeah, sorry, I just saw another car and it completely...
Oh, and Takanen's ahead, so he did finally move back ahead of Keeney.
Okay, it seems like maybe they're getting a little bit feistier now. As you can see, Keeney almost pushing Takkanen round the circuit at the moment as we come into Lesmo 2 now. And yeah, you can just see, I mean, I don't think these guys were running as closely as this. And there's a back marker coming up as well. I'm not sure how the rules work with back markers and things. Just a simple blue flag, is it?
Yes, blue flags are shown. It's more of a courteousness type thing, though, with iRacing and with this series. So it's not so strictly enforced as you might see in like F1, for example. But all of the drivers, for the most part, in this league, very courteous. You'll see people getting out of the way because obviously nobody wants to be that guy.
Nobody wants to be the guy at the end of the race that's taken out the lead, definitely. As you can see, there's a little bit of a lift there as come into the final corner. So we've got Keeney Takkanen from Puhaka, Godin, Dometer, Baxter, Osterkamp, Bendo, Kagura and Brunner is the top 10 at the moment. And there are a few there that still haven't pitted from what I've gathered, as we're now going to have a change for the lead once again, as Keeney is going to take first position, and it's getting, well, we've got 9 laps remaining now, and it's getting a little bit tenser now at the front. You can tell that they may be trying to maybe force each other into a mistake, because obviously one mistake will then mean that the slipstream effect won't work so well, and possibly we might have a race winner on our hands, as we now have a fight for, I'm not sure, but
Baxter and White, I'm not sure what position. It's
Baxter and White for 10th, there you go, as is that White taking the position?
Yep.
I believe it is, yeah. So White, did he have an incident at the beginning of the race as well?
Yes, yeah, both Carbon racing cars actually were involved in an incident, yeah.
Yeah, so he pitted early and is making up some ground now, so he's up into 10th. And you may want to tell some new viewers, plus myself, how the point system works, because I don't have a clue.
I don't have it memorized, but it does go down farther than 10. It's not just the top 10. I do believe it is the top 20. Obviously, there are bonus points for, top 20 score plus the bonus points. This season, there is a new mechanic with the point system where you get a bonus point for having an incident-free race. And for those that are unfamiliar with the incident system in iRacing, you'll get 1 incident point for going off the circuit. Some parts of the circuit are going to be more forgiving than other parts. Some parts, if you just go one millimeter over the white line past the curb, you will get an incident point. Others are a little bit more forgiving. The exit of Ascari, I do believe, is one of those locations where it's a little bit forgiving because you do have that asphalt runoff area, so you can go past the white line without being given an incident point. But as mentioned, a 0 incident race will get you an extra championship point this season. That's new for this this season, and that's going to be a big part of it. Obviously, though, you can get an advantage by running a little bit wide on some of these corners, as we've seen some of these drivers doing. And just to mention a couple of people pitting right now, that is Dometer in the pits right now, and it looks like he's going to get away cleanly. But obviously, like I said, you can gain some time by extending a little bit. So for a lot of these drivers that are going to have to wait, you know, they're going to have to decide whether they want to try and be a little bit faster and get some incident points, and maybe they can gain some positions as a result of that and score maybe 2, 3, 4 extra points. Or if there's no positions to be gained, you can really just focus on keeping it a clean race, get that bonus point, and really maximize your position in the race. So, you know, if it's looking like you're only going to get 10th and not any better, then focusing on a clean race is a great way of just improving your points tally at the end of this race. We are reaching the 2/3 points of this race now, with Keeney currently leading Takinen. I'm sure that is going to change pretty soon here, and it looks like Keeney is hugging the inside line quite a bit. Are we going to see both drivers into the pits? No, it is just Keeney into the pits. Takinen stays out. So Keeney pitting at the 2/3 point of this race. And that was something I did want to bring up earlier, is, of course, we don't know the fuel levels of these drivers. Not everybody is going to be starting with the same fuel levels. And that's very much a part of the chess aspect of this series, is deciding whether you want to run a long stint in the beginning, a short stint at the end, vice versa, or if you want to split it right down the middle. We've seen a couple of drivers obviously pitting right on lap 12. Most drivers in this series will not be changing their tires during the pit stops, because these tires hold up pretty well, and it does increase the amount of time that you're in the pit box by quite a bit. So a lot of these drivers will be running the same set of tires for the entire race. But as mentioned, the fuel levels are a bit of an unknown here.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's pretty impressive then from Keeney and Takinen that they've been able to pull out a lead with a heavier fuel tank than what looks like most of the field as well. So they've used that slipstream to great effect, and it does kind of make you wonder how fast they actually would have been possibly if they were on their own. But Martinson currently in 10th position going over the line, and it might be interesting to see if Takinen comes in on this next lap, because I'm not sure how it would work if Keeney will have the advantage or if Takinen will at the moment. I'm assuming Takinen with the lower fuel load possibly will have the advantage by staying out longer.
Yeah, the overcut is quite powerful, again, also because people won't be taking fresh tires. So if you can run one lap longer than your opponent, yes, that can be quite beneficial. And I think that's exactly what we're seeing here from Takinen, as it looks like he is also hugging the inside line. Yes, he is diving into the pits for his pit stop. So it's going to be crucial to see whether or not he was able to pull out enough of a gap on Govan Keeney, or vice versa. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens here for the lead of this race. Been very, very close between the two of them. They're obviously very similar paced. And we also have Yunus Puhaka of Glacier Racing. He's coming in for his pit stop as well. His car looking to be in good condition. One of the few people that doesn't seem to have had any sort of problems, as Takinen's car is doing a little bit of bouncing. Maybe he's just very excited about possibly winning this race, as he's coming out now to start the 18th lap. So he pitted one lap later than Govan Keeney. And where is Keeney? Was that Keeney right there? That is Keeney. And it does look like Keeney is going to take the lead. He's got quite a speed advantage. You can see Takinen trying to grab a little bit of slipstream there as he heads into the braking zone for turn 1. But that is by far the largest gap we've seen all race for this lead.
Oh, without a doubt. It did seem like Keeney's pit stop was a little bit shorter than Takinen's then. And Puhaka being in as well, that means there's the battle for third with Brunner is very much on. As are we on board with Brunner now? I believe
yep.
We are. Yep. So that's Brunner and Puhaka definitely within touching distance of each other, and definitely this is the biggest gap we have seen all race long. So Keeney's done amazingly to be able to actually pull out a gap after pitting a lap earlier than his competitor Takinen. But it did seem like Takinen did have a longer pit stop, so I'm not sure if there was any sort of repairs or anything going on there, or if he just missed his marks. But definitely this could be a race deciding moment.
You know, Takinen may have accidentally taken new tires. He may, because you do have to uncheck the box that says take tires. So he very well may have accidentally taken tires, or as you said, there may have just been some sort of mistake in the pit box. Having a look at Daniel Baxter there as he avoids the Carbon Racing car. Baxter up in 7th position right now. So actually things going pretty well for the new ACR driver. I'm sure he's going to be pretty happy about that. And this is the battle for 3rd position. Puhaka currently ahead of Justin Brunner. And coming out of Parabolica now, Justin Brunner is very close behind him. You can see them taking slightly different lines. Brunner hugging the inside a little bit more in order to give the inside part of his front wing a little bit of grip through that Parabolica. And I think he may have actually slipped out of the slipstream a little bit too early because he wasn't able to just kind of fly past, as we've seen with a lot of cars taking the move down the main straight into the first corner. In the end, though, it did look like it was enough. I think Kptk possibly lifting off there in order to avoid any sort of incident. It does seem like a lot of lifting is actually happening here today at Monza. A number of drivers hesitant to go side by side. Of course, all of these drivers, maybe dusting off the cobwebs a little bit. Brunner, I can expect, has probably been practicing in the off season, though, as once again, the two of them going side by side, Brunner with the inside line. But as we've seen before with that move, the car on the outside does seem to carry quite a bit more speed through that second chicane, and he is able to hold off Brunner and take that third place position for right now. And yeah, currently battling quite a bit, but these guys do have quite a gap ahead and quite a gap behind as well. So both of them seem to be pretty safe in their current position of third or fourth. Really not coming under threat, and really not much to gain by breaking away or anything like that. So unless there's some sort of incident at the front.
Yeah, definitely. I think, as you were saying with the whole just lifting and things, I think it's, just the part and parcel of what Monza brings. It's more around strategy and deciding when to overtake. And as you can see here, Brunner now going up the inside to take third position, but it might not well be the greatest decision ever, because it will then lead on to the the pit straight, and we may well see a swap of positions once again. But maybe they're just trying to use the slipstream effect to complete advantage. We didn't see the leaders doing it on every single straight. It was just down the main straight, and as you can see, here we go again. That's Kptk going straight back past and up into third place, and you can tell that these guys are getting a little bit tense. 4 laps to go, and they know that the podium position is going to be decided between these two. And as I was saying about Monza and the strategy, it is constantly thinking, right, okay, is there anyone ahead that I can catch? No, because they're not really going to try and battle through every single corner, because they know they're just putting themselves at risk of causing a collision, getting a penalty, anything like that, and then they may well find themselves both off the podium. So I think they understand that, third is all they can achieve, and that's why they're just sitting behind, as Baxter is now up into 6th position, and this is the battle for 6th that we have just joined, Justin.
Yep, at the moment, Jean-Francois once again behind Baxter, and actually he is followed very closely by a Carbon racing car. I'm not sure if he's on the same lap or not. Here's the replay of how Daniel Baxter was able to overtake Jean-Francois Godin, and he had the inside line heading into the first corner, and it does look like he braked a little bit later, and with that inside line able to very easily take that position. And it looks like Godin missing his apex ever so slightly at the second part of that chicane. And once again, we rejoin the battle for third position. Justin Brunner, our Season 2 champion, amazingly battling for third position, and really with no hope of taking the lead, as we mentioned, unless there is some sort of horrible incident involving Takinen and Kini, and hopefully not a backmarker. Then really these guys are kind of stuck in their positions, and they're just going to have to fight it out. As you mentioned, though, just to go back to what you were saying about the strategy, a lot of these drivers, I would imagine, are going to be thinking to themselves, it's not such a bad thing if I get overtaken at the beginning of lap 23, because then I can overtake back at the beginning of lap 24 and hang on to that position for the rest of the race. And that is Patrick White with his severely damaged Star Mazda. You can see heavy damage to the side pod, the left side pod of the car. And he is trying to, he actually managed to get in front of Jean-Francois Godin, but Godin is right behind him as they're heading into the second chicane now, pulling out to the left-hand side, but no, he decides to hang back, which was probably the right choice. Oh, it was a great choice, as Patrick White gets it all wrong and bumps over the curbs. Certainly, this is going to be a race to forget for Patrick White, as we see a replay here. He's got to be very disappointed with that. And yeah, you can see just no grip. He just understeered his way right off of the circuit, and that's going to drop him right behind. Here is the battle for 11th between Stefan Bendo and Rene Osterkamp. It does look like Osterkamp grabbing the inside line for the second chicane, And wow, that looks almost too easy. Holy cow, he just flew right by, and a little bit of oversteer is going to seal the deal. So Osterkamp getting the move done and a little bit of a gap, a little bit of breathing room. So he is probably going to be pretty happy about that. So here we are at the start of lap 22. That means Puhaka is overtaking him. Oh no, and he's not. That's very interesting. So yeah, I completely agree with you, Matt. I really think strategy is coming into play here in these closing laps.
It really is. They're just kind of both bearing their thoughts. They're thinking, right, where do I really want to be right now? And I think behind, definitely, as you said, Justin, is going to be the key place to be, because the slipstream effect does seem to be very powerful around here. And it's really a case of, right, okay, lap 24 comes around, final lap. Do you stay behind just because you have the long straight, the back straight, and part of the pit straight, but obviously the start-finish line isn't at the end of the pit straight, so nope. It's going to be, as we get a lovely sort of camera shot here from the helicopter, which is something we haven't seen all race. This is lovely to see through the Lesmos. But it does seem like Puhaka is definitely using some mind games here. May possibly, you might see both of them coming off the accelerator going, no, you go through. Please, no, seriously, you go through. Because obviously they're both thinking that, right, I really want to be behind here. And I wouldn't be surprised if Puhaka does stay behind until possibly the end of lap 23, and then absolutely guns it, but almost losing it on the curb there, which is going to, it's cost him a bit of time actually, Justin, and we may well see Brunner now try and push to keep that gap as it is.
Yep, I think Justin Brunner is going to be using all of his talent here in the final 2 laps of this race. The front runners now ahead, crossing the start-finish line to start the penultimate lap, lap 23, and you can see the gap between them is still pretty significant, actually. Keeney with quite a lead. Brunner now, as Matty mentioned, currently quite a gap, actually, to Puhaka behind. I don't think Puhaka is, I think he's getting a slipstream right now. And this is, and this is an overtake on lap 21. And that is actually, I'm sorry, I'm not sure who this is. I completely missed it. Okay, this is how Brunner got in front of Puhaka. Thank you. And whoa, and that is very wide. Puhaka with some serious issues at the first Lesmo there, running all 4 wheels off of the circuit. And I think Justin Brunner may be able to hold on. He's obviously pushing very, very hard, as I imagine Justin Brunner is. And yeah, looking at that gap between them, I do think Puhaka is getting a little bit of a slipstream. I'm not sure he's going to be able to close down the gap enough to make the overtake into turn 1. He's going to have the slipstream on the run down to the Parabolica and then coming out of the Parabolica as well. So he's going to have 2 great slipstream events, if you will, which are going to help him pretty significantly here. I think Keeney is pretty safe for the lead. They do have a damaged AOR blue car just ahead of them, and that is actually Phil Reed, the damaged car of the AOR blue Phil Reed car. Those drivers currently in 21st and 22nd place, right out of the points. So as it stands right now, it's looking like AOR blue possibly going to be a non-point scoring finish for that team in the opening round of Season 3, which is not great. But here we are with the leader, Govan Keeney, who showed so much promise last season, some great overtakes, great racing, and it looks like he is going to possibly take home this first win of the season. Currently in 6th, though, is Daniel Baxter in that ACR car. As we mentioned earlier in the race, he is the new driver for ACR. There is Timu Valkjärvi not far ahead of him, actually, in that 5th place position. I think it's going to be too much for him to make up on that final lap. Jean-Francois Godin, obviously just behind Baxter as well, as we see that right now. And interestingly enough, Timu Valkjärvi, a former ACR driver, so that is his old team that is currently just behind him and possibly going to be pressuring him at the end of the lap. It's still quite a large gap. But in fact, Baxter might be thankful just to have the slipstream, just so that he can protect from Francois Godin behind him. He may not be necessarily looking to make the overtake for that 5th place position, but rather using that slipstream to protect his 6th place position.
Yeah, as Keeney now coming through the final few corners of this excellent Monza Grand Prix, and you have to say that it has been a very entertaining one, and Keeney just showing that slightly, just a bit more kind of patience, and just making sure that he pitted at the right time, and maybe it was Tackman's mistake in the pit lane or something like that that actually cost him. But he's coming around the final corner now, Justin, and do you want to take us through it?
Yep, and this is going to be his first win with the league. Previously, his best finish being a third-place podium finish at the Circuit of the Americas, and that is his first win. And as a private driver as well, not a team driver, he's not a part of any team. So Govan Quini, I'm sure, is going to be very excited about that. And here is this battle for the 6th place position. Oh no, and there's contact between them as Godin got a bit of oversteer as they were side by side through the corner. Daniel Baxter into the barrier. He is able to continue. He's going to accelerate through the parabolica. It looks like he may have lost the position. I'm not sure if that was a back marker that got by him right there. It looked like one of the carbon racing cars, so I'm not entirely certain if that was for position, but he certainly lost out on the, and yeah, it is in fact the carbon racing car of Patrick White, and that is for position. So losing out on a couple of positions, Daniel Baxter nearly losing out as well to Dometer in the end. Dometer, as we've said, very clean race from him, not too many issues. Martinson is going to take the final top 10 position as he seems quite excited about that, and he is the lead, well, in fact, the only AOR red car in this race here today. In 11th place, it is Rene Osterkamp. He finishes ahead of Stefan Bendo. As we were saying before, that little moment at the second chicane for Bendo did make that a little bit easier for Osterkamp. And there is our Season 1 champion, Kerry Nolden, coming home in 21st position, just outside of the points. So unfortunately, after 24 laps of racing here at Monza, it does look like our Season 1 champion, Kerry Nolden, so far without any points to show for it. And here is a replay of that incident. You can see Godin just moves up the inside. He gets that wiggle of oversteer, and I've got to imagine that's going to be some sort of penalty or something. I'm not certain what's going to happen there. I'm not a race steward, but it certainly looked to me like Godin just overcooked it into the parabolica and just pushed Baxter right off of the circuit. And you can see it there from Baxter's angle as he ends up in the gravel. Slight contact with the barrier, but of course he only has to drive in a straight line to get to the finish. In the end, Govan Quini with 30 points and fastest lap of the race. He picks up a couple of bonus points as well, bringing his total to 32. In the end, 4.1 seconds ahead of Takinen, who also set a very quick lap, 150.529. He gets 25 points. Brunner with 22 points on the podium here at Monza. Puhaka takes home the 4th place position with 19 points. Valkyarvi in 5th. Patrick White in 6th. Daniel Baxter in 7th. The Dometer picks up that 8th place position. I'm sure he's going to be happy about that. Jean-Francois Godin in 9th place with that 10-second penalty. That's going to earn him only 12 points. Martinson rounding out the top 10. He's going to grab a nice haul of points. I'm sure he's very happy about that. Osterkamp in 11th with 11 points as well. He drove a completely clean race. Nice bonus point for him. Stefan Bendow in 12th, as we mentioned. Steve Kagerer in 13th. A quiet race for him. We didn't see much of him. Mark Hoppen in 14th, I believe, in his first race, scoring points, so he's going to be happy about that. Evan Imre in 15th. Marco Bendow in 16th. Robert Plumley in 17th, Cedric Finsack in 18th, Vittorio Sotalamakia in 19th, William Bush in 20th, but picking up that bonus point is going to have him tied for the 19th place position. Kerry Nolden and Phil Reed, as we mentioned, both AOR Blue drivers failing to score points here at the opening round in Monza. I'm sure they are going to be very disappointed in that result, and I expect them to be on fire at Interlagos. They're going to be very anxious for a good result. Several DNFs, Robinson, Lewis, a whole bunch of other DNFs, and go ahead and talk us through the championship so far, Matty.
Well, as you can see, Quini at the top of the championship as he won that race around Monza, and well, it's pretty much as the results came in. So I won't go. I'll let you kind of have a look at the results if you've already forgotten them, which I'll be severely worried for you if you have. But as you can see, it's a 12 race championship, so it's still plenty of time to go. Disappointing for Kerry, of course, a previous champion, but and Justin Brunner as well, probably maybe not as happy as he may well possibly might be if he had won the race, because obviously being the previous champion, you want to start off the well, round one with a win, but Quini got that, so I'm sure he'll be going in with a lot of motivation and a lot of confidence probably into round two, because apparently he did show some really good potential last season. Not that I followed it, but I have heard in my ear, and he only actually finished one race, finishing at 3rd, so that being his first win, that must mean a lot to him.
Yeah, I'm sure he's very excited about that one. Great way to start his season. You can see here the Teams Championship, Glacier Racing leading ahead of Vortex Sim Racing, and then followed pretty closely by Carbon Racing. And then ACR and TDT are tied along with KP Racing at 14 points apiece, actually. So it's very, very close in the Teams Championship, sort of in the midfield, even going all the way up to Carbon Racing in third. And as we can see, only 3 teams failing to score points here today at Monza, and one of them being Team AOR Blue. Very surprising, of course. Phil Reed is a race winner. Of course, he won last year's COTA race at the Circuit of the Americas in Austin. So he is going to be very disappointed, along with the Season 1 champion Kerry Nolden, who did win 4 races last season. Coming up, the next race that we're going to be doing is round 2 at Interlagos from Brazil. A very exciting track, very high-speed circuit, lots of overtaking locations, high speed. 15 turns. It's going to be a 36-lap race, obviously with a shorter lap length compared to Monza here, and that should be another very exciting one. Really looking forward to that. For Fizzy and Kerry, of course, I want to thank those guys, and of course, xMattyG, thank you so much for joining me here today.
It's been a pleasure. It's been a completely different experience to what I'm used to. Obviously, Formula 1, they look the same, so it's all right. But it's just a learning curve for me, and it was actually a really good race to start off with in Monza, and I look forward to more.
Yep, and we will see you guys next time. Thanks for joining us.